YouTube, with the recent revitalization of the New York Knicks franchise, we're talking multiple recent playoff spots after a long drought of hardship for these fans. And the 2024 playoffs and season are no different in that regard. The Knicks, in my opinion, have their strongest showing yet without even having one of their top players in Julius Randle on the floor for all of it. It's safe to say after last season, the future is only up. And then the 2024 NBA offseason happens and you get miles better, in my opinion. The New York Knicks are absolutely terrifying for the Eastern Conference and the NBA in general for the 2025 season, and I'm going to explain why in this video. This is a New York Knicks deep dive. For this video, we're going to be breaking down every single move that the New York Knicks have made this offseason, and that will include re-signings, draft, trades, free agency, additions, departures, all of it, every single move. And then we're going to be doing a big-time roster deep dive on this team. So we're going to be going through player by player, and throughout the video, I'm going to be explaining my take why I think this is probably the second best team in the East, with a real chance to compete with the reigning champion Boston Celtics in the 2025 NBA playoffs. And before we get into the deep dive, I do have a message for Knicks fans because, if you guys have been following the channel, I'm sure a couple of you guys, Knicks fans, will remember we got into it a little bit between me and the Knicks fan base during the NBA playoffs. I'd actually be shocked if anyone watching this video right now actually remembers that time, because most Knicks fans probably either unsubscribed or, never came back to the channel. I would like to apologize for my toxicity and taking part in that during the 2024 playoffs. As a Sixers fan, we had a tough series against each other. You guys came out on top and you were the better team and you earned it. But I'm just letting you know for this video, I have no ill will or bad blood towards you guys. You guys are amazing, passionate fans, just like my fan base. And I know things are still a little tense between the Sixers and Knicks fan base. I'm going to be making a real attempt to bridge that gap in this video, at least, for my side of the street, right? So I can't control what the Sixers fans choose to do. I can't control what the Knicks fans choose to do. I can only control my part of it. And, I really intend to be fair, honest, and do your team a lot of justice with this deep dive. And that is my goal in this video. So Knicks fans, I wish you the best of luck next season. I really do. I really mean that. I want my Sixers to beat you guys at full strength. But all that out of the way, I just wanted to say that because it is important, I think, for the video in general. So hopefully you guys can understand where I'm coming from. I know that was long. I apologize. Let's get right into the New York Knicks official deep dive for the upcoming 2025 season. This is going to be a good one, folks. Let's get right into it. As I mentioned, we're going to start with all the offseason moves that the New York Knicks have made. And, we're going to start with the departures, additions, and re-signings category. And actually, for the re-signings, you have a few. For one, you re-sign Precious Achiuwa, who I actually think that's a good re-signing. You lose in the departures category you could say backup center, but, he's probably, your best center. And with Mitchell Robinson still on the team, I do think, him and Precious Achiuwa are viable enough. You could still maybe use a little bit of an upgrade, but I think it is good depth to have Precious Achiuwa on this team. I think he is a solid third or second string center. I think it just makes a lot of sense for them to re-sign him. So I think that's a good deal. You also re-sign OG Anunoby on that massive long-term extension, which I think is another W move for you guys. You gave up so much to get OG Anunoby. There was a lot of rumors about him leaving in free agency, and you end up squashing those right away early in the offseason and say, you know what? Not us, man. We're keeping this guy around, and he played so great with the Knicks last season. He's just such a great player, such a great piece for this team on both ends of the floor. And we'll talk about everybody on the roster, in a little bit, but I just love that extension. The people are saying it's too much money, blah, blah, blah. He's not worth that contract. You know what I say to that? I say those people are wrong. That's what I say. And I think I have good reason to. OG Anunoby is a great two-way player. Jalen Brunson, the hero of this city, the savior of the New York Knicks, you could say, in one way or another, right? He takes a 4-year contract extension, basically sacrificing $100 million, leaving $100 million plus on the table for this contract. What a absolute hero move out of your savior. Jalen Brunson, I can, relate to as a Sixers fan, having Tyrese Maxey be our savior and doing similar things, sacrificing his, contract in a different way. But Jalen Brunson taking that pay cut is just, you can't put a price on that. I don't even have words how I feel about Jalen Brunson if I were a Knicks fan. He is just the lifeblood of this city. He just embodies the New York City. He is the champion of this city. And I think, him taking that pay cut is just another example of why this guy is a special type of person, player, and, New York Knick for life. Okay. And I think that's what he's going to be. I think he's going to be a New York Knick for life. Hopefully, knock on wood, many more great years for Jalen Brunson. Top 10, top 15 player in the league, no question. Top 5 point guard for sure. Jalen Brunson deserves every piece of credit that I can give him and any piece of credit that anyone could give him because he just goes out and earns it. And, this is another example of that. So just nothing but great things to say. This is where the Knicks have really improved. And, we got to talk about Mikal Bridges, okay? So not only do you have an elite two-way wing defender in OG Anunoby returning on a long-term deal, you go out and make the biggest splash trade of the entire offseason. Mikal Bridges to the New York Knicks and another Villanova guy to add to this core. This is a seamless fit. And not only that, you have two of the best perimeter defenders on the same team. And not only that, these guys also can provide a ton of value on or off the ball. Mostly off the ball, I think they'll play. But, Mikal Bridges is just, it's actually devastating to me as a Sixers fan that you have OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. Good luck, anyone who has talented wing scorers trying to score on those two guys. I mean, it's just going to be a nightmare. Not only that, think about a lineup with them and Josh Hart in it. Okay, that is just, good luck running an offense. That's all I got to say. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the Boston Celtics. This is terrifying for the league. Just two defensive menaces that can guard multiple positions and provide excellent value offensively as well. I think Mikal Bridges is going to slide into this team right away. And not only that, the Villanova connection, it's insane how they were able to pull this off. Nothing but props. And again, you get a mile better this offseason, and this is one of the big reasons why. So we'll talk about the roster in a bit, but like I said, but A+++++ trade for Mikal Bridges. I don't care what you had to give up. It was a big haul. It was a lot of picks, but listen, man, I don't care. You also acquire Keita Bates-Diop in the trade with the Nets, and this is a guy I think is just good depth for a power forward. Last year I think you could have used another solid power forward coming out the bench who just can play some minutes and not be, I guess, a liability. Keita Bates-Diop's just a spot player. I'm not sure how much minutes he's going to get next season. I think it's a good move for the depth. Kind of a throw-in piece that can help you. You also poach Cameron Payne away from my Sixers, man. Come on, what is this? Cameron Payne, this dude's a competitor and he's a bucket and he's a fun player to watch. You guys are going to love Cam Payne in New York. Again, not sure how much playing time Cameron Payne will get. Maybe he kind of fills in that Alec Burks kind of role, but you already have a lot of guard depth, so it's interesting to see how Cam Payne will fit in with New York. But one thing I do know for sure, the fan base is going to love him. You guys, Knicks fans, you're going to love Cam Payne. He's a fun guy to watch. He's also a better scorer than you think. I know you guys probably know this, watching the Sixer series last season. Cam Payne actually had a decent role with us, and he's just a microwave scorer. I mean, he can hit big shots when you need him. He can shoot super well from the outside. He's got a lot of offensive bag to him as well. He can get off those pick and rolls. He's got a good float game and stuff like that. So I think Cam Payne is a plus offensive player, and defensively he's a little bit small and he doesn't really have the tools to hang with good comp for the guards, but I think he is just a good piece to have off the bench if you need a spark plug scorer. Think of him as similar, I guess, to a Miles McBride, just maybe a little bit less good right now. But I think on a 1-year deal for really cheap money, this is a good signing. I mean, you could always use more depth. Too much scoring, I guess, never a bad thing, right? So those are the additions. We got some really big ones, some really good ones. The departures, there are quite a few of them, but you really replace every single piece of it. And not only that, you do it well. I mean, other than the big one, which is Isaiah Hartenstein, who signed a massive, I believe it was 4-year, $87 million deal with the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's a big deal, and I don't think you were ever going to be able to afford that after the Mikal Bridges trade. Isaiah Hartenstein had a great season with you guys last year. He was a absolute problem for my Sixers in that series. He was a menace on the glass, the offensive rebounds, the little floaters and stuff like that. He was awesome. And then he had that big block on Tyrese Maxey at the end of I forget which game it was, but he's just he's going to make a great fit in OKC, but it is a big loss for the Knicks. I will say that, but there is still time and there are still moves to be made. We could see the Knicks trade some of this depth and young pieces for a backup 5 that is super competent, like an Isaiah Hartenstein role. And Mitchell Robinson, who is a really good center for you guys, but he has been a little bit injury prone. So I'm not sure you guys want Precious Achiuwa playing all those backup 5 minutes. I think he is okay, but that is something I think the Knicks might have to address before the deadline. I'm sure they will. We'll see about it. They certainly have a ton of assets player-wise to trade and bargain for a good backup 5, but Hartenstein's big loss. I just don't think it's going to be as big as people are making it out to be, because you still have Mitchell Robinson. You also draft a quality kind of lob finishing center who we'll get to in a minute, but I do think a trade for a backup 5 is in play, or there's still people on the market. We'll see what happens, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't worry about it too much. You got a great team, and it is a big loss, but you can't keep everybody. Okay, so when you have 4-star players and incredible depth off the bench, I don't think you can really complain too much, right? So you got to give up something, and it just happened to be Hartenstein, unfortunately. Now, Bojan Bogdanovic was in the Brooklyn Nets trade, and, again, you acquired him last season at the deadline. It was a good move at the time, and he actually ended up fitting in quite nicely offensively, especially on those catch-and-shoot threes. But at the end of the day, I think it's fair to say Mikal Bridges is an upgrade on Bojan Bogdanovic as the off-ball forward. I think that's fair to say. I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me down in the comments section if you disagree. No disrespect to Bojan, but listen, man, business moves have to be made, and this is one of them, and you upgrade tenfold on that position. So, Bojan's a good player, but it's a business, man. You got to keep it pushing, right? Alec Burks departs in free agency via Heat. I think, he makes sense in Miami. He kind of fits that mentality and that identity. But again, you actually acquired a lot of guard depth this offseason. We'll get to the draft picks, but Payne being one of them. And I think he kind of fits that role a little bit, maybe a little bit different as a player, but I think it's decent value replacement for him. I'm going to butcher this name and I apologize. And I don't mean any disrespect by it. Please let me know the correct pronunciation in the comments, because I feel like I'm going to get it wrong and I'm going to feel bad for it. So, Mamadi Diakite or Diakite. I really hope you guys can let me know. I do apologize, He was also involved in the Mikal Bridges trade. And then also Shake Milton, former 76er legend, was involved in the Brooklyn trade as well for Mikal Bridges. So, you give up some pieces, but you replace them nicely in the offseason. We talked about how Cameron Payne could serve as a Shake Milton who, didn't really have a role in the Knicks anyway and was a late season addition to begin with, but mostly Alec Burks, that kind of role, he can replace that. And then Keita Bates-Diop, he is a forward depth piece who I think is going to fit in nicely with New York just for forward depth. And then, Mikal Bridges is going to be doing most of the heavy lifting with this addition, I would say. So, W offseason moves. I can't even, that is an A+ offseason. You put all the cards on the table. You say, here's all our draft picks, here's all our money, we're going to get this thing. And, I have so much respect for that. That's something the Knicks, throughout the years in my lifetime at least, until about 5 years ago, the Knicks were really struggling to make good offseason moves, and it just felt like a revolving door of either mediocrity or, I guess disappointment, right? Like with the Melo era and stuff like that, the way they handled that whole thing. This is so much different. I mean, it's night and day. It's like they really have figured it out and put all the pieces in place. And, again, they're putting them all the chips, they're going all in if you're playing poker, right? And they're saying, not only are we doing that, a lot of these guys are still young. I don't think any of them are 30 yet. I think even Randall's like 29. So you have 4 star caliber, starting players, and one of them a superstar in Brunson. And I just don't know. And they all complement each other well. It's like, I don't know how you can't say that this team isn't right behind Boston. There are a lot of great teams in the East, and knock on wood for health, but this is absolutely mind-blowing to me, and they're gonna get so much better next season. It's not even funny. I don't think people are ready for it. This is a 60-win potential team. Last season, unfortunately, they had a lot of injuries, but they still made a good run at the conference finals, even without their, secondary scorer in Julius Randle, I guess. So the Mikal Bridges trade, that was not something I could have foreseen. I thought the big priority going into this offseason was going to be retaining OG Anunoby, and it was one of them, but then you go out and you get Mikal Bridges. I'm thinking, oh, now, he's got a really good value contract, but still, that's a lot of money, Brunson's due for an extension. You got to re-sign Hartenstein. I think OG Anunoby walks after they just invested all this in maybe his replacement, and then, a few hours later, they're like, OG Anunoby, 5-year, $180 million. I'm like, oh my goodness. Paul George or no Paul George, Boston Celtics dynasty or no dynasty. This is terrifying for me and, teams of the Eastern Conference that are hoping to contend. So that's my kind of take on that. But let's get into the draft where the Knicks would actually make a lot of trades. And they ended up drafting and selecting 3 players that will be on their roster next season, hopefully. And with the 25 pick, they select Pacome Dadier. I hope I'm saying that one too. These names, I'm not a Knicks fan, so I think I said that one right. Dadier is a French player and super young. He has extremely good upside. He is a project piece. He is a wing, in my opinion, who is 6'8" with a solid frame, and he's got a little bit better skills, I think, for his age. He's a good athlete, and I think his defense potential is super high. I think that's the big thing with Dadier we got to watch is the defensive potential. I wouldn't expect Dadier to be a big part of this team next season, but it was certainly a project piece that is super intriguing with all the physical tools to be able to become a solid NBA role player, in my opinion. This is a guy to watch down the road, and hopefully he can develop into something special for the Knicks. And I think you take a high upside swing late in the first round, which is what I would be doing if I were you guys. You take the best player available that you like, and you take a shot in the dark at a high ceiling player. Maybe you hit on him, who knows? But I think it's a good pick at 25, just for the upside alone. And then, at pick 34, the pick you acquired from the Blazers, 34th pick, and you select Tyler Kolek, who a lot of people had going in the first round of this draft, one of the better pick and roll point guards, kind of a traditional kind of point guard who I think is super polished. I watched him in the summer league and he looks so good in those pick and rolls. He's quick as well. He's a little bit quicker than you might expect. He's just a confident player who I think has a lot of playmaking chops, and I really like that for the Knicks because a lot of their guards are scorers. You think about some of the two guards, DiVincenzo, Deuce McBride. Now you add Cameron Payne. Like, these are scoring guards alongside Brunson. So you do have a lot of playmaking throughout the roster. I mean, you got Randle, who's a good playmaker. Josh Hart's a good playmaker. Jalen Brunson's your best playmaker. He's great as a lead playmaker. But then it kind of takes a dip, and I think adding some playmaking, hopefully to grow for this development piece, Tyler Kolek, who I think is probably the most polished player you drafted. But I think his shooting ability got better too, in his time at Marquette. So this is a good piece. I like the fit with New York, and I think of anybody hoping to get a role with the Knicks next season, it could be Tyler Kolek. Watch out for this guy, man. He's an NBA ready playmaker for sure. You also acquire Kevin McCullough Jr. from the Suns, and at pick number 56 in the second round. So one of the last picks, McCullough was a player who I thought would go higher in the draft. A lot of people were saying he was maybe an early second rounder. So the fact that you got him at 56 via trade is pretty cool. I haven't watched a ton of this guy, but apparently he is a great defensive player. He made all Big 12 defensive team in 2023, and apparently he has improved as an offensive player as well. He is 23 years old, which I think as a prospect is maybe a little bit discouraging to a lot of teams because they don't like to draft a lot of older players because a lot of people think, they don't have high upside. That's kind of ridiculous to me. I think you just take good players, and if the guy's steadily improving every year throughout college, which is this is saying he is, not only that, these guys are the most polished coming out of the draft. I get the high upside guys that are 18, 19 that have played 1 year in, a super competitive setting. Maybe they're a freak athlete with a lot of intriguing skills. Those guys are always going towards the top of the draft, which I get. But like, if you're a team like the Knicks and you're looking for a guy, you don't necessarily want a project piece when you're all in and contending for next season. So I think, McCullough is going to make a great fit. And again, you just add another guy that has some polish to him that can defend. So I like it. And the number 58th pick, the last pick that you guys have on your roster, you acquired this pick from the Mavericks. And, this is the center I was talking about. He's got good size. He's a good lob finisher. His name is Ariel Hukporti. I hope I'm saying that right. Knicks fans, let me know. Listen, man, 7 foot, 245 pounds. That's nothing to sneeze at. And I watched him a little bit in the summer league and he looked really athletic. Apparently he was finishing lobs at a pretty high rate. He could get off the floor well, rebounder, right? Good screen setter, an energy guy, and I think this is a guy to watch for your bench. This is one of the bigger centers, could he step in and be a third string caliber center right away? I think that's possible, just knowing what I know about his skill set, watching him a little bit in the summer league. If, knock on wood, but if Mitchell Robinson goes down, this is, a potential guy that you might look at to step in and, play some minutes. So again, just great draft for the Knicks. You fill some needs with the playmaking Tyler Kolek. You get some polished pieces that when you're a competitive team, you're looking to get someone that maybe could step in and a spot role and, give some good minutes. And I think Kolek and McCullough Jr. in particular are two of those guys. And then you do address like a project piece as a, versatile wing defender in Thibodeau. So I like the draft a lot for the Knicks. I give it an A- for sure. I mean, you got 4 players out of it. And again, if you're looking for a backup center or just another veteran to add to this team that maybe could be on the market, I don't know. I think a lot of these 4 draft picks and you got young talent on the roster could be enticing to someone with a, center they're trying to trade. Maybe look towards the Portland Trailblazers in that regard. Robert Williams III. Just saying, I don't know. All things considered, this is an A+++ for the Knicks offseason. And I've talked about it ad nauseum now, but New York fans, let me know down in the comments section what you're feeling about your offseason. Absolute W's, right? Now we're going to do the roster deep dive. I'm going to spend about a minute or so on every single player that I think is worth noting. This could take a while, but this is my favorite part of the deep dives when I get to talk about all the players. I love some of the Knicks players. So, without further ado, folks, let's get right into the 2025 roster deep dive of the New York Knicks. So, I'd be doing a disservice to Knicks fans if I didn't start with the man, the myth, the legend, the Jalen Brunson. And I've talked about a little bit how Jalen Brunson has sacrificed almost everything in his life for the city of New York and their team in general, taking that $100 million pay cut, which is us fans, most of us can't even imagine, that level of money, and then leaving it on the table is crazy. But that aside, Jalen Brunson is the type of player that defies odds. People say, oh, he's too small to be a lead superstar on a championship team. That's nonsense. If you watch this guy play, you understand very well, if he has the right pieces around him, there is no ceiling to this team. There's just none. And the way he keeps the Knicks in games, the way he can take over a game, the way he manages a game, I mean, it's unbelievable. His spirit, his competitiveness, his toughness. I mean, this guy is absolutely incredible to watch. You know, anytime he's out there on the floor, you got a chance to win the game. He's that good. And I don't care if he's 6'2". I don't care if he's not a great athlete. Jalen Brunson is capable of anything in this league. And I think, you know, finals is realistic. I don't care how small he is. I don't care about the history. You know, oh, there's been only a few point guards that have led their teams to championship. I think he's that great. I think he's one of those ones. And again, just watch him play. You'll understand how much he means to this team and how great their ceiling can be when he's on the floor at any given time. I mean, he's just magical to watch. You know, when people say gamer, right? Like he's a gamer. That they say that a lot about quarterbacks in football. That's kind of how I see Jalen Brunson. Like it's not necessarily going to be flashy. It's not going to be a poster dunk. It's not going to be a 40-foot pull-up three. It's not going to be anything like that. Behind the back, no look, you know, between the legs pass. It's not going to be. That's not who Jalen Brunson is. He's a guy that just wins basketball games. Anytime he's on the floor, you got a chance. MVP candidate last season. He's only going to get better with better teammates around him. He has the floor-raising capability that very few stars in this league have as the number one option, and I would expect that to only improve as time goes on. He's the savior of New York. He is New York, you know, so the lifeblood of this city, and you know, I'm just excited to see how he does with all these new talented pieces around him. I think it's only better, you know. Julius Randle is an X factor for this team for me, because last season you make it where you make it without even having him in the playoffs. And you know, a lot of Knicks fans I think are frustrated with Julius Randle's performances in recent playoffs. I think that's fair criticism. You know, he has not played well. He's a playoff, people say playoff riser, he's a playoff faller statistically, but there is no debate whether or not he's a talented star caliber player. I mean, this is an all NBA caliber player when he's healthy, engaged, and at his best. And with guys like Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, I've talked about this before on the channel, you know, with those guys being able to take some of that pressure off of him offensively, I think he plays better. Okay, if he can accept a role as a third level scorer, you know, if he commits to being, I don't want to say role player, but just a key, you know, complementary piece to Brunson, Bridges, and OG Anunoby, I think, you know, the sky's the limit. Okay, the talent is unquestionable. The triple double threat, you know, the playmaking ability that he possesses, the scoring ability, the big just body that he brings to this team. I mean, the physicality inside, you know, the rebounding. He's just a complete player in those regards. And I think, you know, if he accepts to take good shots and, you know, to not do too much, I think, you know, again, this isn't an issue for him in the playoffs next season, because he doesn't have to do all that stuff now that you have other, you know, complementary, really capable scorers next to him. So it's not just going to be Brunson and Randle now. And I think that is going to help Randle in a lot of ways. Look for him to have a bounce back season and hopefully, you know, knock on wood, stay healthy and have a better playoffs than he's ever had. Mikal Bridges is going to make a perfect fit with this team. You know, we've talked about the defense. He is, you know, early in his career with Phoenix, I believe one year he was a finalist for DPOI. He's an all NBA caliber defender. Last, you know, couple years with the Nets, he's had to do a lot offensively. And I think he is a great offensive player that's capable of giving you 20 a night. I don't necessarily think that's going to be his role on this team when you have guys like Randle, Brunson, DiVincenzo, you know, Anunoby. It's going to be more of a committee other than Brunson, I think. And that is the right approach, I believe, to this team offensively, is you're going to play through Brunson and you're going to do it heavy. Everyone else is there to complement that offensively. And I think, you know, he makes a perfect complementary piece offensively. Defensively, he is a game changer. He is a game wrecker, and he is a lockdown perimeter beast. And I think this role is going to suit him much more than a first or second option offensively. You know, him being able to focus more on the defensive end, you know, not saying that they're not going to need him offensively at times, because they are, and he's going to have to step up, and he's perfectly capable of doing that. But his ability, you know, he has got to be one of the top elite tier complementary pieces in this league. We talked about him with Phoenix and how great he was there, being probably the third best player on that finals team. You know, they went to the finals that season and he was, no question, you know, a massive contributor, probably the third best. And he's only improved as the seasons have gone on. And now he goes to New York with a fresh start, a new chance to compete for a title on a honestly better team than he's probably ever been on. And he's going to have so many open shots, it's not even funny with this team. He's a good shooter and he is a durable player, probably the most durable player in this league. He's just the most consistent competitor you can find, and I just can't say enough good things about it. I don't care how many draft picks you gave up to get him. They're putting all their chips on the table. This is all their chips, you know. And Mikal Bridges is going to make a perfect fit in New York, and I have no question about it. OG Anunoby, you know, similar kind of thing to Mikal Bridges. They are a little bit similar at players. I think Mikal Bridges has more on-ball capabilities as a scorer. I think OG Anunoby is more of a off-ball, guy that you look to for cutting and movement without the ball to open up a lot of things for Brunson, Randle, Bridges, right? He's a great shooter, and he's just a really smart player who knows his role well. And he, again, another guy that doesn't try to do too much. He is just so elite at the things that he does, which is perimeter defense and, versatile defense. Okay. He could probably guard, realistically, we wouldn't be honest with it, 1 through 4 and do it at an elite level. And then also on the offensive end, like we talked about, he knows how to move without the ball. He knows how to finish in transition. He's a good athlete. He's a great cutter. He spaces the floor well. I mean, there's just nothing you can't say positive about him as a complementary piece. Probably, again, him and Bridges, 2 of the most elite tier 1s that you could have, especially when your best player is a point guard who is not necessarily known for his defense. I don't think Brunson's necessarily a terrible defender or a bad defender or anything, but he is a small guard with limited athleticism. So surrounding him with long, versatile wing defenders is probably the best thing you could ever do. And that's what the Knicks have excelled at this offseason. And, OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges defensive pairing is a nightmare. It's a nightmare for a team like the Celtics, who, their 2 best scorers and players are wings. And the Orlando Magic, their 2 best players are wings. Jimmy Butler in Miami, Paul George in Philadelphia now, Tyrese Maxey as well. They can shut down guards and wings. And that's just a supreme ability to be able to have. These are two-way freaks, okay? And they're going to be looking to get busy in 2025. Absolutely incredible that they're both on the same team. It's mind-blowing to me. Those are the big 4, right? And then other than that, I mean, I don't think enough people are talking about how great this team's depth is, okay? When you have Josh Hart potentially coming off the bench, we'll have to see what the starting lineup looks like for this team. I would imagine Josh Hart will be the first guy off the bench, but he will probably end up closing a lot of games. And Josh Hart, I can't say enough great things about the level of competitor and just clutch player that he is can't be understated. I mean, if you guys watch the series against the Sixers, anytime they needed a 3-pointer, anytime the team was down and they needed a big shot, man, Josh Hart was doing more than he was asked to do and, going above and beyond to put this team over the top. He is a super capable playmaker. He is one of the best rebounders for his position in the league, maybe the best as a 2 or 3 wing, probably the best wing rebounder in the league. He's never going to necessarily be a guy you look to ISO and get a bucket, but he can score in big moments when you need him, okay? The defense is exceptional as well. He is, again, in the competitive spirit and the edge and toughness and grit he brings to this team, it's just mind-blowing. This guy, you think about every championship team, they all have one of these guys that can do pretty much everything on the floor, okay? Pass, dribble, shoot, defend multiple positions. And Josh Hart, you think about, just let's go back a little bit, okay? The Bucks had Drew Holiday. He was that guy on their team. The Draymond Green, right? 2023, the Denver Nuggets, Bruce Brown was that guy for them. Aaron Gordon, probably, Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon. And then last season with the Celtics, Derek White and Drew Holiday again. So that's going to be Josh Hart's role, okay? And he is better at it than almost anyone in the league. Elite tier role player, S tier role player. Mitchell Robinson, again, has had some injury concerns, but when he's healthy and committed to being a disturbance and disruptor in the paint, rebounding god, I mean, finishing god. Some of the highest field goal percentage seasons in NBA history, and also the rebounding is off the charts, primarily, offensively. I mean, he is as big as you can possibly want your center to be. He's a big guy, not even metaphorically, which he is, but physically, he's a massive human being, and he's just a load down there in the paint, and he gets a lot of opportunities for this team on the offensive glass. And I think that's something that, is a lot of teams look for. And I think if he's able to stay healthy for, 65, 70 games and, at full strength in the playoffs, they're going to need that because of the, I don't want to say lack of depth at center, but just maybe a little bit subpar bench unit at center because of losing Isaiah Hartenstein. You'd like to have another guy similar to Mitchell Robinson's quality to be able to replace him with off the bench. We see a lot of teams in the NBA stagger their centers minutes. They'll basically have a rotation of 2 guys that are similar quality players. Like you think about Charlotte with Nick Richards and Mark Williams. You think about Atlanta in the Eastern Conference with Onyeka Okongwu and Clint Capella. 2 guys that are, good athletes, fresh legs, rim runners, defenders, rebounders. And they basically give them each 25 minutes a game, and you'll always have a fresh center on the floor. I think New York will be best suited with that strategy. That's what they did last season with Hartenstein and Robinson when Robinson was healthy. But, again, look for a guy on the market. Potentially, could be a guy like Robert Williams. You gave up a lot of picks, right? So maybe that's out of the possibility, a ton of picks to trade. But there are a lot of young players that maybe necessarily might not have a role on this team next season, who we'll get into. A lot of those draft picks, I think, are, definitely something to note for that. And rebuilding teams like Portland are always looking for young players to develop, so that could be an option there, but just keep an eye on that. Mitchell Robinson's a good center, above average center, and he provides a lot for the Knicks. Defensively, I think when he's engaged and in shape, he is pretty good. So there's a lot to like about Mitchell Robinson. He's just got to stay healthy, and hopefully he can do that. Knock on wood, you know what I mean? So Donta DiVincenzo was a massive addition for the Knicks last season. I don't think enough people thought about it going into the season, how much he'd bring next to Brunson as that floor spacer and just elite tier shooter. That's what he is. And he can also score a little bit off the dribble. He is a guy that you could put the ball in his hands and expect to get, a good perimeter shot and make him at a pretty high clip. Smart player, good competitor, dog mentality, gives it a lot of effort on defense. I like DiVincenzo a lot. He played a great role with the Knicks last season and was one of their best players last year. So him coming off the bench potentially, I think it, probably will be that. I think he'll be, the two guard off the bench. I'm envisioning a starting lineup of Brunson, Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Randle, and Mitchell Robinson, but we'll have to see how it works out. Those top four guys have got to be starters, you'd think, because they're all star caliber players. And then Mitchell Robinson, obviously the best center. So if they wanted to go small, they could maybe put Randle at the 5 and Josh Hart also in the lineup to be able to supplement the defensive, versatility, but we'll have to see how it goes. Either way, DiVincenzo fits nicely around guys like Mitchell Robinson, around guys like Julius Randle, to be able to space the floor, allow those guys to operate inside, and, Jalen Brunson as well. If he can create a lot of space, draw defenders away with some gravity, DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson is a mid-range king, and he's able to operate there a lot better. So love DiVincenzo's fit. Deuce McBride, similar thing. He absolutely impressed me a ton last season, and he's not afraid of any moment, and he steps up big in big moments, and he's a quick player, quick point guard who is able to be a little bit of an on-ball pest on the defensive end, and then as well as, create a lot of space offensively, hit big shots, good shooter, good speed and athleticism to be able to get to the rim and, just blow by defenders. So he is a spark plug offensive player. I think he's the, backup point guard to this team, and I like his upside a lot, primarily offensive scoring wise. I think he adds a lot of spark plug off the bench type of energy, and I love that for the Knicks. We talked about Keita Bates-Diop. He had a long run with the Spurs early in his career, and then last season with Phoenix didn't quite work out there. It'll be interesting to see how the Knicks use him. I think he could be a rotation piece. I like him for depth. I think if he can be a solid defender maybe and, hit some corner threes a little bit better, I think he is a guy you got to keep in the rotation, because I think he's a little bit versatile for a 3 or a 4, and I just, not quite sure what his role is going to look like, but if he can play like he did in 2023 with San Antonio, where, he shot 39 from 3 on 2 attempts per game, I just like it for depth. I think it's a third string power forward type situation. We'll have to see. Honestly, you could realistically play Anunoby or Josh Hart at the power forward. So Josh Hart is an undersized power forward, but I think he, is capable of that role. Precious Achiuwa, you could slide in there at times. This is just me riffing at this point, but you also have like guys like Kevin McCullough who are rookies, and also Jacob Toppin, Jericho Sims still on the team. So there are options, for that backup forward spot. Randle is gonna play most of those minutes there, obviously, but Dwayne Washington Jr. really impressed me in the summer league. I think this is someone you keep on the roster, but not sure exactly, with this guard depth. I mean, we talked about Brunson, if you want to call Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, 2 guards. They'll probably, one of them will probably play the 2 guard. DiVincenzo, Deuce McBride, and now you add Tyler Kolek into the mix, as well as Cameron Payne, and, Dwayne Washington, could be the odd man out, but I liked his competitive, fiery spirit in the summer league, and he put up some really impressive games in the summer league. So maybe this is a G League guy, I don't know, but I like his game a lot, and I think he could definitely earn a roster spot. There's just a lot of point guards on this team, unfortunately. And then, obviously you have Tyler Kolek, who again, I think is going to be off the bench for a point guard. He could be the third string point guard. I think he's a good playmaker. Kind of a different look. It could be a situation where they put him in certain games to play make, if they need some extra playmaking boost off the bench to operate pick and rolls. If they're trying to isolate a certain defender, and they need a backup point guard come in and do the pick and roll playmaking, maybe it's a Luka Doncic where you say, okay, we got to get this guy in the pick and rolls and put him in a blender. Let's get Brunson and Kolek on the floor to just, double up on those PNRs. Against bad defensive backcourts, I think that could be a valuable option, but, he's just a different look off the bench than a Miles McBride, I think. And as far as the roster, that's pretty much it. And I say pretty much it, but, we talked about like 10 plus players on this team that are going to have a big role next season. The depth is insane. I think the only real, I guess, thing this team could use is another center that, can play about 20 minutes per game and you can feel comfortable with that. And I like Precious Achiuwa. I think he's a fine player for that in the short term, but I think, towards the end of the season, it's going to be tough at the center. And I know you have great defenders around the center. So I don't think defense is necessarily going to be the big issue, but I just think another guy with a lot of size other than, we'll have to see what happens with Okporti, because he has that size. He has that profile. If he's polished enough, I think you give him a shot, right? A backup center. My concern is you play Mitchell Robinson at center so many minutes that he ends up running out of gas and ends up getting injured. A lot of injuries happen when players are overworked. It's hard to get a guy as big as Mitchell Robinson in good conditioning because, the more you ramp up their conditioning, the more likely they are to get injuries. And so I think, that is something I think they could address, right? Maybe you pull up some of those players and go out and try to get a Robert Williams, or you try to get, one of these centers on the market by the deadline, right? There's going to be a few, and no question, I think that is the thing you look for. Other than that, I think, maybe a little bit of a different power forward situation. I mean, your wings are complete, right? You have Hart, you have OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, DiVincenzo with the 2 guard. Like, I think that's fine. Maybe you could use another power forward, or, maybe just one more versatile wing. I don't know. I think, I'm splitting hairs here. I'm nitpicking, and that's what you have to do with a roster as great as this. New York Knicks fans, you guys are absolutely set up for the 2025 season. Please let me know down in the comment section how I did with your team. I'm really trying to be fair and honest, and I actually don't feel any hostility towards you guys in my bones. I think that's silly. I think we should move past it. And, if it comes to a situation like that again, I think I'll handle it differently, in the playoffs. Like, I don't think, engaging in the toxic narratives and engaging in the toxicity pool that's, happened in that series last year is the best thing for me or for the channel. I don't think I want to do that if the situation occurs again. I think I want to be somewhere in, where I can, I guess, provide a logical, kind of middle ground opinion like I'm trying to do now, because, we as NBA fans, we don't need to be toxic towards each other. No matter how fired up we are about our teams, no matter how much we hate the other team, right? Like, I hate the Celtics. I hate some of these Eastern Conference teams, right? I'm really trying to work on as a fan, not letting that, dictate how I treat people. Okay. And I think that's something I'm gonna try to work on. You could say it's soft. I just think it's unhealthy, and that maybe that's soft. I don't think so, but I want this channel to be a place where people of any team and any fan base doesn't feel divided. They don't feel, like, oh, this is a Sixers fan. I don't like those people. I can't listen to him on his takes. I don't want that to be the vibe of this channel, and I don't want to contribute to that kind of feeling. I want this to be a place where any fan base can come and listen to a fair, objective takes on their team, and as well as just a positive place people can come every day. There's just so much toxicity in the NBA community, and again, I'm not a saint. I'm guilty of it too at times, but I'm just letting you guys know that's not my intention moving forward. That's what I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be a positive place people can come. Maybe you hear a take you like, maybe you don't, right? Maybe you think I'm weird, or I'm funny looking, or whatever. Whatever reason you watch this channel, I don't want it to be a toxic one or a feed into that kind of culture. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Knicks fans, let me know down in the comment section what I guess how I did on your team. I do accept criticism. I think I'm trying to get better at that. That is how I learn and grow on this channel. And I've covered, this will be the 15th deep dive that we've covered. So we're trying to do every team in the NBA by the time the offseason's over. This is a long series, and we're going to be doing it every day until we cover all 30. So Knicks fans, there's going to be things I missed about your team. There are probably going to be things I maybe mischaracterized, not on purpose, but just I'm not a Knicks fan, so I don't know all the little, minute details. And I think it's important to, if you guys do care at all, maybe to add some context to things that I missed, because there's going to be some gaps in my knowledge with the Knicks. And if you guys can help fill those a little bit, with context and, with the proper lens that you guys see it from, that's what I'm hoping for. So let me know down in the comment section. I'm sure I got things wrong in this video. Knicks fans, hopefully I did your team okay. Let me know all the stuff down in the comments. Make sure you guys follow my Twitter and my Twitch. I'm looking for more ways to engage with you guys in a positive way. So I think we are going to start streaming on Twitch again. The links are down in the description to my Twitter and Twitch. I want to interact with you guys more in different ways other than just the comment section, right? I love talking about basketball, man. And I know a lot of you guys in the comments are so great. And, make sure you do leave a comment, because I try to be pretty active there. We do get a lot of comments, but I try to respond to as many as I can, positive or negative, doesn't matter. But, I just want different ways to engage with you guys. So make sure you guys, follow my Twitch. Let me know down in the comment section what some of those ways could be, right? Because I do want to talk to you guys in different formats. I think Twitch is probably the best one for me to start with. And we are going to start streaming on Twitch again. So make sure you guys follow that. And hopefully hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today. You know, I'm really feeling great about the Knicks this season. You know, I'm going into it trying to bury the hatchet, and I just, you know, all that stuff, personal stuff regardless, this team is terrifying to me. You know, as a Sixers fan, I think Boston fans will probably, that team is just on another level, but I think the Knicks are just a tick, you know, like a step or two better than the Sixers, and that could end up being the case in the playoffs. But hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day today. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys don't want to miss any more deep dives just like this. Could be on your favorite team next. There's a good chance we've already covered your favorite team, or we're about to in the upcoming week or so. So every single day we're going to be doing a video similar to this on a different team until we're done with every team, but everyday content on this channel, similar quality to this. Hopefully, I'm trying, but I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Knicks fans, be excited, because I am for you guys, and you know, hopefully we can all hate each other's teams and still respect each other, right? So I respect you guys. You know, I definitely do. You know, you guys are just, I know what you guys are feeling, because us East Coast teams, you know, instead of hating each other, maybe we should stick together. You know, there is a real objective kind of vibe and energy to an East Coast type of team, right? The Sixers and the Knicks, I think, have similar ones. These are blue collar fan bases, right? We don't have sunny weather every day. You know, we don't have beautiful palm trees to go out of our house. If you do, that's fine. You know, I'm not, you can't judge people based on just where they're from, but I'm just saying, like, the grittiness of the Knicks and Sixers fan bases, I think, are very similar. So hopefully guys, anyway, I'm rambling. I'll catch you tomorrow in the next deep dive. Knicks fans, let me know everything, how you feel down in the comments, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day today. This is your boy D Haven as always. Peace.